There are moments in life that change everything in a single heartbeat, moments when hidden truths rise to the surface, when the powerful and the cruel finally meet the strength they never saw coming. On a rainy Friday evening at a busy downtown restaurant, that moment arrived for a hardworking black waitress named Elena, a woman whose quiet strength was far greater than anyone knew, especially the man who thought he could hurt her without consequences. Because tonight, her husband, a man with a fearsome reputation, forged in a world he had worked hard to leave behind, was closer than anyone realized. And when his queen cried, the entire city would shake, backhand index pointing right. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and justice for the innocent, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel so more people can see stories like this. Elena had started this job just 3 months earlier. She was the kind of woman who smiled even when life had bruised her. She worked every shift with grace, even when customers ignored her, even when coworkers whispered and judged her based on her skin, assuming she didn't deserve the life she quietly protected outside these walls. They didn't know that she drove home to a mansion, that her husband insisted she didn't need to work, but Elena had been raised to earn her own way, to hold on to her independence no matter what love offered her. But the world had a strange way of testing those who tried to stand tall. Her manager, a man named Rick, was known for his arrogance. He saw himself as the ruler of the restaurant, a king surrounded by the young women he hired, desperate for attention. He noticed Elena the moment she started, her beauty, her kindness, and the way she refused to engage in his inappropriate jokes. That annoyed him. When a man like Rick couldn't control a woman with charm, he tried to control her with fear. On that rainy Friday, the restaurant was packed. Elena had been rushing from table to table, ignoring Rick's lingering looks. Her back ached, and she imagined going home to cozy arms waiting for her. Her husband, Dmitri, had promised he'd be back early tonight. He had been away handling business, though she no longer asked what that truly meant. She trusted him and believed in his transformation more than anyone. She knew he was a man with a dark past, once feared as a mafia boss who commanded respect, but she also knew his heart. He had changed for her, leaving that world behind. Or so they both hoped, but fate doesn't forget so easily. Rick cornered her near the kitchen, his eyes cold with entitlement. He pretended to reprimand her, claimed she had delivered the wrong order, but his intentions were obvious. Before she could speak, his hand clamped around her wrist. With a swift pull, he dragged her down the hallway and shoved her into a small employee bathroom, locking the door behind them. The clatter echoed like a gunshot inside her ribs, her breath shook. She tried to keep calm, remembering every strength-building moment of her life, every hardship that had carved a queen out of struggle. Rick leaned closer, his voice venomous with power. He taunted her, saying no one would believe her if she screamed. He thought she was alone. He thought she was weak, that he didn't know who loved her. Dmitri arrived at the restaurant minutes later, surprising her as promised. He walked with a calm confidence, wearing a tailored coat that made men step aside instinctively. His presence was quiet but chilling. There were some instincts you never unlearn. People recognized him without wanting to admit they did. The air shifted wherever he went. But he lived with one rule now: peace first, violence only if absolutely necessary. He had brought flowers for his wife. Just a simple gesture, because Elena loved simple gestures more than diamonds. But when he asked a server where she was, the nervous stutters raised every silent alarm in his mind. Meanwhile, behind that locked bathroom door, Rick's grip tightened. Elena shoved him back with trembling strength, refusing to collapse into fear. She told him to stop, that her husband was coming. Rick laughed, a cruel laugh, telling her she was lucky anyone even hired her at all. That was the moment a sound echoed from outside, footsteps that were slow, deliberate, powerful. Dmitri tried the handle. Locked, his heart went cold. He did not shout. He did not panic. He simply placed a hand on the door, and in a voice that carried the weight of storms, he called her name once: Elena. She responded with a voice cracked by fear: "I'm here." Dmitri. The door shook as he slammed into it. Another hit. And another. Years ago, he broke bones for a living, a door was nothing. The frame splintered violently. When Dmitri burst inside, he didn't need to ask what had happened. The terror on his wife's face told him everything. The flowers slipped from his hand, petals scattering across the dirty tiles like fallen hope. Rick tried to speak, stumbling backward, suddenly realizing he had pulled a lioness away from her lion. Dimitri's rage was silent but lethal. The old world inside him surged to the surface, the one he promised Elena he had buried. His fists clenched, ready to deliver the kind of punishment a monster deserved, but then he felt Elena's hand grab his. Her touch reminded him of his promise, that love was stronger than revenge. Instead of destroying Rick, he whispered to his wife, "You're safe now." Then he called the police, making sure Rick was held accountable by law, not by blood. He demanded the restaurant's cameras be reviewed, every witness recorded, every customer questioned. Justice wasn't a threat, it was inevitable. As officers dragged Rick away, the restaurant fell silent. No one would ever again underestimate the woman who walked with a king. Not because of fear, but because of the fierce dignity she carried within. Dmitri held Elena close as they stepped into the quiet night. She trembled less with every step, comfort returning slowly. He apologized, saying he should have been there sooner. She assured him his presence, right when she needed it most, was enough. They returned home not as victims of another person's cruelty, but as proof that love protects, love empowers, and love conquers every darkness that dares to rise.